our life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe. I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. Push my way through the crowd. I'm gonna grab you by the hand to a place we will stand. Stand proud, no fear. It's clear, I believe in you. I believe in me. Oh yeah, I believe that we can make this dream a reality. Yeah, yeah. Now's the time to be. Now's the time for miracles. Oh, it's in my heart so deep. 'Cause I believe.
Ah, yes, I believe in you and you believe in me, and I believe that we can make our dreams a reality. Well, I'm back. Thank God, thank God, thank God. I'm back. I tell you, last week this time I was in the hospital after suffering a heart attack that was completely a surprise. I had no high blood pressure, no high cholesterol, none of that, just out of the blue. It happened, but God said, not time for you to go, my friend, my son. I've got work for you to do, and here I am to see another day, and to give thanks unto God for his loving kindness, his tender mercies, and those great doctors at St. Agnes and their heart failure center who were waiting there for me at the door when they pushed the gurney in with me laying on it. I had taken, I had oral surgery a few weeks ago, and I had taken an antibiotic in the morning, and I forgot I had taken it and taken a double dose of it, and my chest started hurting. And I thought it was just I had acid indigestion, and I started taking antacids, and I called my sister. She said, no, I don't like the sound of what you're telling me you're feeling. And it was just a sort of an aching in my arm and just not real sharp pains in my chest. That's the reason it didn't scare me real bad. So I went on to bed, slept, and the next morning I had the same thing. And my sister called me, and she's a nurse, as I said, and she said, no, you call the EMS right now. And I said, no, I don't want to create that bill, because they charge you a fortune when they come out in an ambulance. She said, Patrick, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Just call the ambulance and have them come out. She said, I think you're having a heart attack. And when they got there and they came up and they put all those things on me, all those wires and stuff, and we got me in the gurney, and they said, yes, sir, you're having a heart attack. And but we think you're going to be okay. I wanted to go to University of Maryland because every time I get sick, that's where I always end up. But they said, no, we're taking you to St. Agnes because it's closer, and they have a heart center for heart failure. And we're riding there, and they're saying, well, we hope there's not a lot of people, in the ambulances and stuff there. And God, I tell you what, they turned up in there. They said, it's empty. And I kind of felt, well, okay, Lord. And then when they pulled up in and they pulled me out, they opened the door, and as far as I could see were doctors and nurses everywhere. I mean, they said, we're going to be moving around you pretty fast here, Miss Henderson, but you're going to be okay. We got you here just in time. and they gave me a stent in my groin, and to open up the heart valve. And sure enough, here I am today. Feel good. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. And just want to thank all of you all for your prayers and your calls and your cards and your letters. I tell you, it was over 600 hits on my Facebook page. And I was talking to Miss Hughes the other day, and talking about Facebook, and I said, I thank God for Facebook, because in a matter of minutes, I had 500 people praying for me and sending me encouragement, but it ain't no fun being in that hospital. I don't care what nobody says. It's the last place you want to be.
You don't get rest.
You don't get rest, man. That's the last thing you get. And the food is horrible, but that's all right. I couldn't eat no way because I just had my new teeth, so it was in a predicament there. But please welcome my co-host, Mr. James C. Moran, who filled in for me last week. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing well, Patrick. It's good to see you back, man.
It's good to be seen.
And all I keep saying is listen to your body.
I know. I'm listening to you.
Gives you good messages.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Richard Terry, how are you, Richard? Richard? Oh, let me push the button. Richard, are you there?
Oh, now you decide to push the button.
Yeah, I got to get Ricky collected here. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
That's good.
After my recurring visit with the vampires.
Oh my goodness. The vampires, he calls the bloodsuckers, right?
This morning.
You had to go. You went this morning?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was down there looking at the vampires at 8:00 this morning.
Wow.
And but outside of that, it's another day in Mr. Robinson's neighborhood.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Rogers, and we got our own our producer and co-anchor, also Jason Rodriguez. How are you, Jason?
Good morning, family. Peace and blessings. Just want to remind everyone that we are now streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, as well as YouTube. You'll have the opportunity to check out all of the co-hosts as well as your host, Patrick Henderson, who is now back in the studio, family.
Yes.
In all of his glory this wonderful morning.
Yes, it is.
You didn't cue in hallelujah.
Yeah, I say hallelujah.
We got a new engineer for us today. Well, bless God. Thank you, brother.
We got to run one of those for you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Titus. We got a new engineer, a new technician, so we want to welcome him to the fold. And to each and every one of you right now, let us bow our heads. Those of you who can, touch your radio. Not if you're driving, but if you're somewhere and you can touch it, let us touch and agree in the name of the great God of possibilities. Lord, we bless you for this day. Thank you for another opportunity, oh God, to rise and to shine and to look up on this earth, oh Lord. Oh, we thank you for your loving kindnesses and your tender mercies, oh God. Oh, day by day, new mornings we see, oh God. What would life be, oh Lord, without you? For me, it would not be much, oh God, because you are my sunshine. You are the light of my life, oh God. And I thank you, Lord. I thank you for being there for my childhood and keeping me even in those times when I didn't understand me because others were saying something was wrong with me. You were saying you're still my child. And I will be your child, oh God, for my dying day. Lord, bless Brother Richard there where he is, okay. Do God touch his body. Oh Lord, heal him or lift him up, oh God, where he belongs. Give him the strength that he needs. Even my co-anchor, James C. Miranda, oh God, he's been having bouts with this congestion and pneumonia and stuff, oh God. Lord, touch us, Lord. Heal us, oh God. We love you and we're here for you, oh God, for our people, oh God. Strengthen our minds, strengthen our bodies, oh God. Heal us right now in the name of Jesus, Lord, as you touch, and we ask you to touch those out in listening land, oh God, who might not be feeling well or who might be in a hospital or who might be bedridden, oh God. Bless them, oh God. Lift them up where they belong, oh God. Bless us, Lord, and keep us, oh God. Bless the children right now in school, oh God. Well, I hear that the murder rate is up to over 303 people, oh God. Bless those families, oh God. That little boy that those people left in that bathtub to die, oh God. They're going to court these days, oh God. Every time I look at that little fellow, oh God, I just cry. Lord, help our children, oh God. Help us to raise them, oh Lord, and to love them like you love us, oh God, unconditionally. We're yours and we are in your hands, and we thank you for this time together. I pray in thy son Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
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 Amen. All right. Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Richard, and Richard is believing that this murder count should be much higher. Those of you who might remember the Antoine Black case that happened earlier, this year, where the young man was killed in the.
No, it was late last year, Patrick.
Was it late last year?
It was late last year.
Late last December?
Yeah, about September, October of last year.
Oh, okay. We remember what happened. Something happened. He died in police custody, right?
Right.
And what were they saying? He was on drugs.
There was just so many strange things about that whole incident that just didn't sit well. Where they had a civilian involved in the whole incident. There was just a number of different things that just didn't sit right. It didn't pass the smell test.
Well, so your thinking is that about it though is something should happen to sort of that whole kind of situation, because they can trace where that heroin was made and who made it.
Well, what they're doing now is in several counties on the Eastern Shore, what the state's attorneys of those counties are doing are they're charging the drug dealers with either manslaughter or second-degree depraved indifference homicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they're doing is they're beginning to break down the components of each of these drugs. And like, say, heroin is cut in a certain way or cocaine is cut in a certain way, and it can be attributed to this group or that group. And if somebody dies as a result of an overdose, they do an autopsy, and a toxicology report can list the chemical components of what that blood is. So they can then tell and then compare it to their tables and determine where it conceivably could have come from. And they charge those individuals with homicide.
And you say you said if they actually did that, the homicide rate would be even higher, huh?
The numbers would be even more. And then if you remember, too, somebody reminded me of this the other day. If you remember, too, in the 90s, there was a very big, huge discussion with regards to the medical examiner's office classifying some people's deaths as indeterminate, and whereas other people thought they were homicides.
Right, and I don't think we have this statistical...
skewing the numbers way back in the 90s.
Yeah, and I don't think we have this statistical data for this year.
This whole thing with the numbers game has been crazy for a number of years, and I don't think anybody's really ever gotten it under control.
Well, Jason, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was saying, and I don't think we have this statistical data in reference to how many of those are determined this year to be undetermined or classified as undetermined by the medical examiner's office.
Do you know if they even do it anymore? Or it's just dead. They just dead. They don't care.
I think all the numbers are made as public information. I mean, we could easily send out a public information request and see if we can obtain that.
Richard, you're saying they don't classify them?
Some offenses they can't. Some deaths they can't determine. They call them undetermined.
But now that's Eastern Shore. What we're talking about now is Eastern Shore
I thought
activities.
General. But go ahead.
Right. And I just want to focus on the fact that right here in Baltimore City, right here in River City, we got 304 murders as of this morning. Just tragic. The city and the state and the country is just awash in violence. And then we've had 3 mass shootings in California in the last week.
One last night.
10 people last night.
At a football watch party.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's national, it's local, it's everywhere, which is very sad.
Unbelievable. Well, there was a robbery or something in Patterson Park. I was hearing, right? Did y'all hear about that? And they're saying there seem to be more police in the white communities where they're not needed as much as they are in the poor black communities.
But even with the police being in the white community, we're still seeing incidences even happening now in their community. They're not isolated. They just had a shooting in Hamden.
Yeah.
You know, in
that.
what folks would consider to be one of the safest areas in the city, besides the Inner Harbor.
Well, we're at 304, and I shudder to think of what's going to happen by 12/31 this year.
Patrick, you knew the beginning of the year. I predicted this, unfortunately.
Yeah, you did, yeah. It's,
you know, and I hate being, you know, the predictor of something like this,
right.
but our community is just so unhealthy right now.
Well, it's cold. People don't have money, and you're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Hi, Irene. Thank you for your faithfulness, sweetheart. She joins us every week. You all can join us at 410-481-1010. I know it seems like we can talk about it, but what are we going to do about it? As far as the offices running for mayor and the city council, who is rising? Who's got a vision here? The Jack Young doesn't seem to think anything is his job to create, from what I'm hearing. He said he's not going around shooting people. It wasn't his job to come up with a crime bill. But Richard, you contend that the city charter says that's not true.
Well, the way that everything is set up now, he has two committees that come under the office of the mayor. Both of them deal with criminal justice. There's the mayor's criminal justice coordinating council, which involves every segment of the criminal justice system. You have the mayor, you have parole and probation, you have law enforcement, you have the sheriff's office, you have the judicial branch, you have the state's attorneys, and they are supposed to come up with these suggestions on how to do things. Oh, and I forgot, city councils are part of that as well. Now, also under the Baltimore City Code, Article 1, Section 26, there's another criminal justice group that comes under the mayor, where which is supposed to be a meeting of everybody, of all conceivable stakeholders, mental health professionals, community groups, the whole 9 yards, and they too are supposed to be coming up with strategies in order to curb the violence in the various communities.
Well, how does that relate to Harrison's crime plan? Is that crime plan a subset of what's supposed to be an overall umbrella plan for the city?
I don't. See, that's the bad part about it. I think it's totally separate.
Well,
because nobody has ever. I don't think they have not talked about, or I have never seen a report from the Mayor's Criminal Justice Coordinating Council or this other one that sits in the Baltimore City Code. And if I remember the annotated code correctly, I think there's a third one that sits within the annotated code of Maryland under the public safety article. I can't remember exactly where it is, but I came across it one day.
So the current crime plan under Harrison would supersede all these, or should work in coordination with? What you're describing.
It should work in coordination with these other groups.
Yeah, because what you're describing is, to me, chaos.
And that's the way it's set up.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. You know, these things have been put in place by law, but yet nobody knows about them.
Which is just amazing to me. Is amazing. Yeah. So, would you say that the mayor doesn't even know that these codes exist? Would you say that? Why would he say what he said about him not shooting people, and it's not his job to come up with a crime plan, knowing that these codes exist, that the law says this is what he's supposed to do. If he knew that those laws existed, why would he do what he's doing? Or why?
The Criminal Justice Coordinating Council itself has been in place for, I think, about the past 10 years.
Well, we see how effective that's been.
Right.
Exactly, and unfortunately.
Yeah, and never even heard of. That's pretty amazing.
The other thing that is so bothersome about Baltimore and the way we seem to do things is we get more headlines in other people's newspapers than we do in our own. So the Washington Post this weekend actually did an article about the mayor and how he could make a statement such as the one that he did. And they were basically saying that you, Mayor Young, need to take responsibility for what's going on. You can't just duck it and say it's a failure in leadership. So I said, so we get articles in the New York Times, we get articles in the Washington Post, and the nation gets to characterize Baltimore as a city out of control. And somehow we got to get around that. I don't know how we get around it, but we need to.
Well, unfortunately, James, what I'm seeing is, and unfortunately, we are our own worst enemies. Everybody is playing a circular firing squad. Everybody's pointing at everybody else. Oh, it's not my job. It's their job. Nobody wants to take accountability. And unfortunately, and I say this as well, what we live in is in a political fiefdom. Under this one-party domination, nobody will be held accountable.
Right. Richard, I mean, I hear you when you say that nobody wants to take responsibility, but I think in many cases they are trying to take responsibility. It's just that they're doing the wrong things. You know, when you concentrate on public safety only and you don't work on issues like, for instance, the drug epidemic, the opioid epidemic, when you're not trying to provide wraparound services, when you're only throwing a trickle, into youth services and youth programs, unfortunately, this is the results that you get.
I agree with you 100%. We've got Ernest. Ernest, you have a question or comment? Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People.
Yeah, thank you. In 1972, they had 333 homicides. The homicides started in Baltimore City because of the U.S. government putting crack cocaine, and heroin into our community. Now, during that time, we had Donald Pomeroy was the police commissioner. Donald Schaefer was the mayor. Marvin Mandel was the governor. At no time did any white person or black person accuse them of being responsible for the homicides. And this went on several years. We've had homicides in Baltimore City under all of the administrations. But this is just an attack on the administration because white people want somebody else to be mayor. And you got Kay's Whitehead going along with it. The black, most of the black radio talk show hosts going along with it. I mean, you should be able to see this. The history of homicides in Baltimore City, all you have to do is go on the internet and it'll tell you when it's happening.
I'm confused, though. Hold up for a minute. Who is Kay?
He's talking about Dr. K.
Dr. K on WEAA.
Dr. White.
Historically black colleges, HBCU.
Yeah. And what is...
And when you try to explain stuff to her, she'll hang up on you.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be, I call her fake wise Whitehead. Let me just say one other thing too, if you don't mind. I think Richard can vouch for what I'm saying. Richard, don't you understand what I'm saying?
I hear you, and I understand what you're saying, because if I look back at the history of this whole thing, yes, the numbers have been there for at least 10 to 20 years.
Yes, yes, and nobody has ever. Let me tell you why they wouldn't talk against Pomeroy. Pomeroy had a unit called ISD. They reported to Pomeroy only.
Isn't that the one that had the files on just about everybody in the entire
Absolutely.
city?
Everybody. And nobody
would mess with him, huh?
Mess with him. The Mitchells, Perm, all that. The newspaper reporters, Michael Oleska. And even they had police, when we had the Vanguard meetings in the beginning, they had police that we thought were our friends spying on us for Pomelo.
But isn't that
Black police?
Isn't that the same during that year with the Mandel years? That was Mandel's power too, because he had files on just about everybody in Maryland government.
People had files on him.
Pomelo had the files, and if you look up the information of Pomelo and the ISD, Mandel made Pomelo try to explain what was going on. If he got the files, that's how he got them. He made Pomelo because Schaefer didn't have control over Pomelo. Pomelo was when police department was a state agency, and the governor controlled the commission.
That's what I mean. Mandel had control over it.
Mandel had control over the commission, and not Schaefer, and not the city council. No one had control over Schaefer, and none of these black people ever asked Schaefer anything about no crime plan. You think they would go down there and ask Pomelo about a crime plan?
Well, I'm confused here. What are you saying, that we shouldn't be asking Jack Young for one?
No, you shouldn't be asking. That's the police's job.
Wow, I don't agree with you.
Professional police.
Yeah, I know, man.
Plan.
You know what? That's great.
Do this for black people.
But black people, get out of here, man. You don't think white folks gotta get? Come on,
white people do not mess with their police commissioner or Schellenberger. They don't ask Schellenberger about when they killing black people out in Baltimore County anything about it. They didn't ask Schellenberger when he gave those 4 children. They should have been convicted of burglary, but he convicted them of homicide and gave them 30 years. Any white person talk against that? Right, that wasn't justice.
But Brother Ernest, you don't think that it's the mayor's duty to come up with a comprehensive plan that works on ending things like homelessness, addressing drugs, public health issues?
Here, I think I remember who put that whole criminal justice coordinating council into play.
Who?
That was O'Malley.
I don't doubt it.
What you do is you get people that specialize. When they had the IRB report on Suda, all the people that investigated on that IRB report on Suda was police, people that knew what was going on in police actions. They were either police, sheriffs, district attorneys, or something. They had expertise in law enforcement.
Yeah, but
that's what you have when you come into this, because the mayor's never been involved in law enforcement.
They're gunning, but don't he know what it needs? Don't you have no vision? Can't you see something above?
And leadership is supposed to start at the top.
Exactly.
It don't start at the top.
Where does it start?
It don't start. A police going to do what they want to do.
Yeah,
a policeman in uniform, once he leaves that station, he's going to do what he wants. That's what the DTTF was doing. What they want to do. They was robbing people. They was burglarizing houses. They was robbing dope dealers. They were killing people.
If they were black.
So, are you making an argument that we do nothing, or what's the solution?
The solution, the crime plan, should come from the federal government, the ATF, the Baltimore City Police Department, people that's involved in law enforcement come up with the crime plan, and they advise the mayor of what they're doing.
Yeah, but shouldn't we be concerned when they end up being a part of the crimes? They committing the crime, sir?
Let me ask you this. If you, Patrick,
if
you were elected mayor, you don't know anything about crime, do you?
I know enough that I can read and learn about it. I ain't no dumbass.
But you don't have any expertise. People go to school.
I mean, people go to school.
Go to the FBI Academy. Go to ATF Academy. We have.
And so they're the only authorities. That's what you're saying. They're the only ones that are smart enough.
How would you stop homicide?
I'm sorry?
How would you stop homicide?
One thing I would do is give people a living wage so they could have food to eat and feed their families. That would be the first thing I would do.
Well, I tell you what.
What?
the Casa Nostra, they made plenty of money.
And kept it right within their own people. Yes,
and
they
killed
did.
a lot of people.
Yeah, they did to get them out of their way.
They made a lot of money. Made men made a lot of money. They lived in big houses, castles.
All right, Ernest.
A lot of people.
All right, thanks, man.
But the crime plan, whatever crime plan you do, is going to be larger than just the police force.
And most folks that go to...
And that's what I was trying to say. And that's what those two...
the music is too loud. Why are we hearing that music?
You're at the top of the hour.
Oh, nobody told me. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Oh, WLB 1010 Baltimore. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Bye-bye.
You come too far from where you started from. So please don't let the time you've sown be wasted on things that you later regret.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
Welcome back. I tell you what, you could drop Ernest. I locked him in, but I'm going to go now to Doc Cheatham. Doc Cheatham, are we too dumb to be able to know what makes sense? Just common people, is only the police can write a plan, or am I just completely?
I think that's absolutely absurd, Patrick.
It is absurd.
Most folks that, well, put it like this: I can't speak for every person that's sat in the mayor's position, but most folks that go after that position have taken some sort of civil, service, education to know exactly policies and, a perfect example was, what was the guy, Otis, that used to work with Otis Rowley.
He disappeared. Yeah,
he went to a university to learn governance. You know what I mean? And you go to these schools to learn the inner workings of a city. So that you can be able to create better policy. Right.
But when you have the police that's creating the policy, committing the crimes too, what do? This is what I'm saying. And Ernest, I think he's just resigned that all cops are corrupt. Evidently, from the stance that he's taking, they're the only ones that know. And even though he said that once they leave their positions or whatever, they go out and do whatever they want to do, whether it's breaking the law or not. Is that not what he said?
I mean, we've heard. So I had a particular officer in Irvington that told me that once they come out of the academy, that things that they learn within the academy, once they get with a training sergeant or get with a field officer, that they're told that forget everything that you've learned in the academy because it'll get you killed. Follow me and do as I do, and you'll go home every night.
Wow. Doc Cheatham, I called you, but I didn't hear your voice. How are you, sir? Let me see here.
The station was going so well. Let's put it this way. One, I would hasten to say a significant number of our officers, male, female, black, white, and brown, do a significant job. The problem that we have far too many that have looked the other way or have basically been, committing crimes and acts that they should not while we're in the mess we're in today. So, I'm not that impressed when folks come on and tell me they were with the police department for 30, 35 years. And my question to them is, well, when did you report some of the crime and violence took place by your officers? None of them answer. So, but we have a lot of work to do. I think none of us have the solution. I think collectively we need to come up with solutions. I've been working all day today trying to get information to my residents that even though I think it's an insult that the city council really has not addressed food deserts, that they did come up with an idea that may help a little in providing some funding for those who don't have automobiles to get to some of these food markets. But the issue is
You need to come up with some subsidy to help these folks, such as in my area, that don't have automobiles, that don't live near a food market, and all we have is potato chips and pretzel stores. We don't have food markets. So, the city of Baltimore, city council people, none of you, from my vantage point, have a right to run for re-election when I look at the idea that you have failed us for 5 years, that 1/4 of our residents are in food deserts.
Well, the other interesting thing was that they're only giving like $75,000 for a demonstration project on how that's supposed to work.
It's a pilot project.
But they're more concerned about plastic bags than they are about anything else.
That's my issue. I put that on Facebook. Look, I'm trying to learn from James how to write these articles, but I think collectively none of us can compare to the great articles that James writes. James, I want to say publicly, thank you for your prolific skills in writing, because I have yet to find one that I disagree with.
You're welcome, sir. I'm on a roll about this one today because I read it and I said $75,000 is a crumb. And we always accept crumbs, and I hate that.
We do.
That's my
That's what I was talking about today. As far as the youth fund. I mean, they threw crumbs at it. You know?
Oh, wasn't it in France when Marie Antoinette told somebody when they told her that the people were hungry? What was her comment?
Let them eat cake. And what happened to her?
When we live in a political fiefdom, this is what they give us. They give us the crumbs and tell us to take it and be happy.
And see, I think our failure is that as voting citizens, we're about to consider re-electing a majority of these folks when none of them deserve it. When you look at over 100,000 people in Baltimore live in a food desert, none of them deserve on just that issue alone to be re-elected.
The number was 140,000, and 124,000 of them are African American.
Yeah.
That's what the newspaper said today.
So on what basis do you re-elect them?
Yeah, right. But we'll just go out and vote for them because we knew them. Oh, yeah, well, who else? We don't know nobody. Like Leon Pinkett. I see Bubby is on there. Can we pull Bubby in?
Yeah. And Patrick, this is what I was talking about. So I was looking this up. Otis Rowley went to MIT for city planning. And his concentration was on housing and community economic development. That should be the role of a mayor.
Right.
Developing a master plan that includes economic development. When Sheila was in office, she had the master plan for trying to end homelessness in 10 years. These are progressive ideas.
That a progressive mayor.
Correct, that a progressive mayor has. And that's what we really need.
Yes,
someone that's going to have a crime plan, that's going to have a plan for homelessness, that's going to have a plan to address this opioid and pill culture in our city, job development and training, working with our reentry community.
All of that should be a part of a comprehensive
correct.
There should be relationships between each one of those, and you ought to be able to connect the dots.
Correct.
Right. Well, that's the reason I'm sort of shocked that somebody would call in here and say that it's not the mayor's job to do these things. He doesn't know it, so he doesn't know how to do it because he. So what do? You go find the people that know how to do it.
And he may not necessarily put the policing plan together. That's the duty of your police commissioner. But he should have an idea of how he wants his police department to be able to engage the community. Like, for instance, community policing and constitutional policing should be the priority of any mayor.
Well, I agree.
Question. Is Doc still on the line?
Yes.
Has anyone reached out to you, Doc, for your expertise?
No, sir. And that's the scary thing about it. None of us have the expertise or the experience.
All of the answers, right?
Wow.
We have to assume, you're going to have to go to somebody that's been there, done that, doing that, and trying to get some answers. Now, there are about 7 or 8 of us that have been speaking and crying out about this whole issue 5 or 6 years, and none of us, when I communicated with my friends, I said, well, y'all contacted anybody ask y'all? They said no. They said, Doc, you know what it is. You got some folks living in some nice bourgeois communities, and they're going to come up and say,
What happened? We lost Doc. Yeah,
we lost Doc.
I think anybody could finish that. They live in a nice community, so they're going to come up with some bougie plan.
Well, see, the thing that was irritating to me as I read the article, I said, well, surely by the end of it, we're going to have a quote from Doc Cheatham. I know him.
They would have,
there was
but they
no
don't.
quote.
That's just too easy to do.
In this city, Patrick, and
Nothing.
we've talked about this before, it's not what you know half the time, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And if you know somebody who wants to have you rise in the sunshine, then that's who they're going to call on.
Right. It
was disappointing. I know that.
It is disappointing. But what would you think, Doc? Doc, is he still there, or did he?
We lost Doc.
We lost Doc. Doc, please call back. I got some questions for you. I would like to know, what would you all suggest they do in a situation? They've got the food grub. What is it called? Grubhub, Jay?
Grubhub
that delivers foods and stuff. They could have a regular twice a day run into that area.
Right. The thing is, there is a potential opportunity in that community. We lost, not that it was the most healthy supermarket, but we had Murray's that sat inside the Lafayette Market. That space still is empty to this day. I go in that market quite frequently, and that space is still empty. So we have the potential, to bring somebody in. It's just a matter of, whether or not the city is willing, in some cases, to try to help facilitate that. They were willing to help facilitate shoppers. I don't see why they wouldn't help facilitate a market, because there is a potential space.
I'm going to go to Brother Carlos. Brother Carlos, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Good morning, and welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope you will have continued good health, my brother.
Bless you. Thank you.
I have just 2 or 3 questions I want to ask you, erudite gentleman, and get your knowledge, if I could. I heard the comment about we keep electing, the same officials over and over again. Question number 1 is, what is the empirical evidence that voting in the amounts of 29 to 30% indicates that the people of Baltimore have come out and voted, as they should, for qualified or competent elected officials? And you have maybe 30, 40, 50 different neighborhood associations that could generate interest in their community if they're not receiving the services. So that's my first question: is what is the empirical evidence that the city of Baltimore or the citizens will respond to that mandate? My second question would be, murders seem to be going up all over in crime. Now, in Washington, D.C., they have over 20 different police agencies, including the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan. But yet they have murders that have also increased. In fact, the mayor called for police interdiction, overtime, and so forth in 6 different neighborhoods across Washington, D.C. To try to circumvent those crime statistics. So my third question is: would you be willing to go along with a modified zero tolerance plan? Even though Martin O'Malley went overboard, as you say, would you be able to tolerate stop and frisk, more heavy interdiction of drugs and guns, state police presence, that type of thing? How far would you, as a citizen, outright citizen of Baltimore, be willing to go, and what would you tolerate for the succession?
Patrick, it's funny that Carlos brings that up, because we know that these policies don't necessarily work, and you see recently on the campaign trail Bloomberg apologizing for stop and frisk policies.
I was going to bring it up.
Exactly. Because what's the young black writer got on that wrote that article and said, "We will not forgive you for stop and frisk. You will not be president."
Charles
just like
Blow.
and
you got Joe Biden, with the crime policies.
That's right. He's not going to be elected either, because he's not going to get the black vote.
He went to a black church to say he was sorry.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Too
Brother
late.
Carlos, to answer your second question first.
Oh, yeah.
Even though D.C. has what I call the alphabet soup of law enforcement agencies running through it, and I think it's more than almost 20 different agencies that are inside of D.C. Most of them have specific jurisdictions. They don't intermingle. It's specific to one specific thing. Now, under certain circumstances, you may have an incident where the Metropolitan Police Department will be superseded by, say, the FBI or the Secret Service. But outside of that, ATF has its own jurisdiction, DEA has its own jurisdiction. Each of the agencies have their own police department. Capitol Hill has its own police department, and the Supreme Court has its own police department. And it just deals with those specific areas. And that is their specific jurisdiction. They don't go outside of it a lot of times.
I say, in other words, if somebody drives into the White House, a woman with a baby, they can shoot her with impunity.
They did
But if you're outside of that, no problem.
They just have the jurisdiction of the White House and its environs. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. But okay, but that's my question. And like I say, with the neighborhood, if the neighborhood associations are as powerful and as active as they could, why can't they generate enthusiasm from their citizens?
That's been a question that has been raised a lot of times. If you want to look at it from an empirical standpoint, a lot of the people who have won election in this city have not won with a majority. They won with a plurality.
Right.
So therefore, are we looking in the mirror?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I got you. All right, well, thank you for your time, Pat, and you keep up good work, man. I enjoy your program and your commentary. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You be blessed too, Carlos. Thank you.
And when we get a chance, Patrick, I'm going to talk about really quick the top cities with the highest murder rate in the country.
All right, let me just hear what Bubby has to say.
And Leo, what the cities are.
Really. Bubby, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Great conversation, brother.
Yes,
good to hear your voice. Did you get my text checking on you?
Yes, you did. Yes, I did. Thank you, Bubba. I always do. Bless you, my brother. Yes, thank you.
My pleasure, brother.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Pat. And gentlemen, I'm so confused with how the city now the leadership is not responsible for the areas that they were voted for to oversee. In other words, the mayor should have not just a plan for the police department, but he should have a plan for housing, economic development, educated, and the whole stratosphere. We're not saying the mayor's supposed to know it all. Right. We're saying the mayor's supposed to know who to call that knows
put it together. All. Yeah, not on exactly.
Right. This is crazy. We have a mayor that remind me his name should be Joe Biden, John Hopkins, because he keeps stepping into stuff that he doesn't understand. So he had people that advising him and saying, Mr. Mayor, say no comment and hurry up and get in the van and play seconds with yourself.
I said last week, stop talking.
I said the same thing.
Let me get to your point. You have a man for over the decades been hollering about the corruption at the Baltimore City Housing Authority. Now, this very mayor has my personal phone number where he can call and try to chastise me for not being a homeboy and not supporting him. But he won't call myself and others to put us in a room to ask us questions. What is our gripe? How can we better serve the people of the city? So this is what I'm saying, and I'm going to get off the phone. When you have African-American leadership that does not care about the African-American majority in the city, and we are so fragmented and split, so therefore we take and we get on this side of the African-American fence and that side of the African-American fence, and then others come in and win, or we have an African-American in leadership in title only. I heard Stephanie Rawlins Blake. How dare she show her face after she quit on the citizens of Baltimore, and how can you ask us to continue to vote when we seen what happened in this last mayoral race? All the irregularities that went along just to keep Miss Dixon out of office. You seen people who supposed to hate themselves, now they best friends. Now, once that mayor didn't win, everybody turned on the other mayor, and the man who made deals with the devil, came out to be a devil. Now, this is what I'm talking about, Pastor, when we have a city that does not take the hurt and the pain of its citizens for real, and they in it to get their money, then get on CNN and try to tell us how great they was, or go work for the Greater Baltimore. And another thing, Pastor, how can anyone say that the Greater Baltimore Committee has its best interest? You ask them to do a study, and they come up with $75,000. Let me give you this study. They had an article about a month ago about the city received a grant between $3 and $9 million to study the effects of lead paint. Well, let me give you one effect. Why did the Baltimore City public school system, African American majority schools, the kids cannot drink out the
water fountain? Yes, sir.
No, why can't somebody just say, let's take $2 million of that money
and put filters?
We have all the schools.
Yeah, and put filters on it. Yeah, where happened to that $9 million? Now it'll disappear.
Exactly.
It'll disappear.
Why do we have white Ritz-Carlton residents
not paying a water bill?
Over $1 million water bill, but yet still you snatching people houses in West Baltimore for $800.
Right. And the guy who was Rudy Chow is resigning. He should have been fired and is going to be able to take his pension along with him. Are you serious? Who's running this city?
Crying about Rudy Chow, Paul Graziano. They all in it together. How can you not build one of your most luxurious real estate developments in the city, but yet still now you're making public housing residents pay their own water bill? And let's do the math here, Pat. Last time I checked, public housing residents, or the government or public housing residents, were paying the Baltimore City Water Department over $40 million, $10 to $40 million a year.
Except for that.
Now, where all that money going?
Exactly, but the Ritz-Carlton didn't pay for 10 years. What was it, $10 million?
$2.3 million.
And say they were sending in asking how they could pay their bills, and they wouldn't even take the money. So I'm just trying to understand how Rudy Chow has not been fired. Why is he being allowed to get a pension? No, I don't know why.
Well, let me put it like this. Rudy Chow know where the body's going. Rudy Chow is just like Paul T. Graziano. They is a funnel for money to politicians.
So y'all are saying that they basically stealing the money. That's what everybody's saying, because it keeps disappearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what about the $5 million they just found sitting around?
Right, exactly. And then what will happen to it? It'll disappear, because that happened doing Stephanie Rollins Blake. Didn't she find some money that Schaefer had put in some bank account or something? It was like $10 million. Y'all remember that?
The question, Patrick, becomes, where's the controller? Why didn't the controller know about all this?
But the most worrisome part of that is Jack saying, well, we always knew we had extra money hanging around. We always have money in certain accounts. How can you say that and still run for mayor if you know that you have $5 million in slush money hanging around various accounts?
And the controller's office, the comptroller's office excuse is that the mayor's office is not giving her enough money to do audits. So how are you expecting her to thoroughly find this money?
Right.
Well, I sent them an email to the controller office about auditing the housing authority and DPW concerning $300,000 that was misappropriated, because they don't want me to say stolen, but where we from, you steal.
Right.
Misappropriation, and they never got back to me. They sent me that they got the email. I called them last week. They played phone tag with me, kept me on the phone. Nobody never said anything. But the point must be to reassure the citizens of Baltimore City, we need to see where the money was going.
Absolutely.
I live in 21217, and you telling me billions of dollars that came into the 7th district. I want to know where. I'm talking about 21217. I'm not talking about Ellicott City to fix their flood problem. I'm talking about in Sandtown to fix the flood problems of the people basements leaking every time it rains.
Right, and Bubby, let me ask you, because the Baltimore City Housing Authority is a quasi-governmental agency, so federal as well as city. Correct. There's multiple agencies in charge of it.
State, and local.
Right. So who would be responsible for the audit?
The feds. But you got to write DC. That's the federal government, because they appropriate the money. But the money goes in Maryland. How the money comes to the state. Then Baltimore is appropriated $375 million. So you got so many, you got the state, you got the feds, you got the state, and you got the city. But keep in mind, and this is what we must always understand, Mad Jack Young have the autonomy to walk across the street to 417 and fire Janet Abrahams today. He also needs to fire Joseph Lee Smith, the chairman of the Housing Commissioner, Robin Carter, Reverend Boyer, Dr. Freeman, and Sharon Jones. They are the board of commissioner that's supposed to oversee Abrams to make sure Abrams does not get out of line. But keep in mind, all of these are political appointees. They work directly for the
Jack,
mayor, and they are funnels.
I say there's one other name in there that you're missing, but I'll.
Hey, Jason?
Yes.
How the whole system works, the hierarchy is Congress creates what's called enabling legislation that sets everything up. It then goes down to the state where the state legislatures will create the framework for how the money gets sent to the various local jurisdictions within the state. Then it's that local jurisdiction that controls everything.
But who should be responsible for the audit, or should it be a quasi audit as well? Should it be the federal double checking to make sure that the state and city is doing?
The state should be double checking what the city's doing. Then the feds would oversee what the state is doing.
The state, right?
Coming behind each other.
But keep in mind, gentlemen, you do not have the political kahunas in City Hall to open up this Pandora box. Now, my question has always been, if you didn't rate Baltimore City public housing for 30 years and you done diverted the money down to Canton, Fells Point, and Harbor East, how is it then you rectify that uptown communities have for decades have been abused? You hear every politician say, oh, it's empirical data that the communities of black...
Right, and then we elect them and they just go right on. Yeah, nothing happens. I agree with you. Hold on, Bubby. I'm going to lock you in, Bubby. And I'm going to go to Leo, Robert, Dwight, and Gene. I see you there. Let me see here, but I'm going to go sequentially what they're telling me to do next here. Leo Burrows, how are you, Leo?
Yes, good afternoon, my friends. How are you?
Hey, Leo.
Well, I'm incensed about the comments of the retired Negro police officer. Was that Ernest?
Yes, it was.
He was denigrating the character of Dr. K. Wise Whitehead, who's a radio talk show host at WEAA, and characterizing her as a fake. My background as a community organizer is that of police community relations in Alexandria, Virginia, under the Urban League, and in Chicago, under the organizations in Chicago of the community resource centers in Chicago in police community relations. So when you say that only the police have the expertise,
right,
that's nonsense. That is totally... Who evaluates the success and failure of police community relations and accountability? The taxpayers. So if they don't heave ho and do what needs to be done in a way that is measurable and are successful, then we throw those bums out of office. And so I'm very much incensed when I hear someone say that only the so-called professionals. Crime-fighting expertise is a combination of community.
It's a comprehensive.
It's very comprehensive.
It's got to be holistic.
It has to be.
And I'm so afraid that other people will buy into that nonsense that only someone with a degree in law enforcement can fashion a plan for a community. Inherent in any community plan must be community input and involvement.
Absolutely.
And if you can't
what I've never told any of you all is, I sat down and wrote halfway. It's halfway finished. I sat down and started playing with something over a year ago.
Right. Well, as I said, I was just amazed that he thought that someone would buy into that nonsense.
Nobody here bought into it.
Nobody here bought into it.
And Brother Leo, when we come back from break, I'm going to read the top American cities with violence, and you'll be surprised that we have the expert here from one of these cities.
And,
the so-called expert.
Well, thank you, Leo, as usual.
Have a great day.
You
All
too.
right, Leo. Take care.
Well, Irene says, as far as Doc is concerned, what if they use the Arabers to bring food into the community and people could buy?
Well, remember the city
We don't
got
have
rid of
any
most of them.
anymore.
The city got rid of them a year ago.
We don't have them anymore.
I still see them.
from time to time, and I think you have
Not
issues
officially.
also as well with the Humane Society and the animals.
Yeah, they had problems there.
They had problems with the upkeep of the animals.
Irene was also suggesting we need an independent comptroller. Has that ever happened?
Always been elected, as far as I know.
It has to
Always
be.
been elected.
Always been elected. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Don't you touch that dial. I see you, Robert. I see Bubby. Hold on, Dwight. Gene, I'm coming to you next.
Talk in the day. Soul at night on the new 1010 WOLB.
I'm Reverend Al Sharpton. The annual enrollment deadline for Medicare is coming soon. I have a special guest here today to explain it all. From Health Markets, a national organization that helps folks find the right Medicare coverage. Welcome, Mike.
Rates are going down this year according to government analysis, and that's why Health Markets invented the FIT score. It helps consumers instantly compare their plan to thousands of others from national insurance companies to quickly see how they can maximize their benefits and save money. There are plans with $0 copays, $0 deductibles, and $0 premiums. Plans that include dental and vision coverage, plans with hearing aids, diabetic supplies, and gym membership benefits, all at no additional cost. Listeners need to really act now to make sure they get the right plan, they get the right benefits, and the savings they deserve.
Go to healthmarkets.com or call 800-519-5860. That's 800-519-5860. 800-519-5860.
Are you close to losing your home to foreclosure? Do you not even open up the mail anymore because of constant threats to garnish your wages or take away your home? Don't get more and more frustrated with the system. Use it to your advantage. Often you can find bankruptcy protection and keep your home and other assets. And now the Foreclosure Assistance Center is here to help you and do it for less. They are offering a low fixed rate of just $500 a file for bankruptcy. So call them today at 410-415-3777. The attorneys at the Foreclosure Assistance Center have over 20 years of experience in helping homeowners save their homes and stop the harassment from creditors. Take action now. It's far more expensive to get out of it the longer you wait. Do it now. Call 410-415-3777 or visit foreclosureassistancemd.com for a $500 bankruptcy. Get out of debt now. Stop the harassment and keep your property. Call 410-415-3777 today. That's 410-415-3777 or check out foreclosureassistancemd.com. They are a debt relief agency helping people file bankruptcy under the bankruptcy code.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. Push my way.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Gonna grab you.
We're going to get right to the Jason. Go right ahead. You're going to give us a list, Gene, and I'm coming to you. I promise I'm coming to you next. You're going to give us a list of the top 10.
Yeah, family. I wanted to just so this is per capita. This was just released recently online, and it's talking. It actually went through 128 safest countries in the world according to Global Peace Index. And then they were also looking at the cities in America that had the highest murder rate. So this is per capita, family. So per 100,000 people. St. Louis is number one right now. 69.4 murders per every 100,000 people. Baltimore is at 51.1 per 100,000. New Orleans is number 3, 40.6. Per every 100,000. And remember, we got the police commissioner from New Orleans, who's supposed to be the so-called expert.
Savior.
Correct. Detroit is 39.7. Cleveland, Ohio is 33.7. Las Vegas, Nevada is 31.4. Now, there's an asterisk on Las Vegas because, remember, Las Vegas had a mass shooting, so that actually kind of jumped them up as far as numbers is concerned. But normally, Las Vegas is a safe city. Kansas City, Missouri is at 31.2. Memphis, Tennessee is at 27.1. Newark, New Jersey is at 25.6. And Chicago comes in number 10 at 24 murders for every 100,000. D.C. is sitting at number 19 with 17 murders per every 100,000 residents. And Atlanta, Georgia is sitting at 20th with 16.7.
Wow, thank you for that.
And New York is not even on the list.
Because they stopped and frisked.
Because they stopped. That's because they stopped and frisked, right? Yeah, right.
Well, it says here that there's a misconception that cities with larger populations have the largest murder rate.
And it's not true.
New York City, for example, has 8.39 million people, but with 300 murders and a murder rate of 3.7 for every 100,000 in 2017, it doesn't even make the top 50.
Wow, it's amazing, doesn't it? Jean or Jean, welcome
how
to
you guys doing?
Hey, Jean, how are you?
Yeah, welcome back, Patrick. And
Thank you.
Good health to you too. Continually. New York is not on the list because the great crime fighter Giuliano, the president's lawyer,
Yeah, right.
solved the problem in New York.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
So,
a
and the
joke
reason
for the
I-
day.
That was a
right?
joke for the day, right? Right.
Yeah, that was a joke for the day.
Yeah, thank you.
But just think about this. Okay, everybody is familiar with the Industrial Revolution, I'm sure. Right now, we are in a artificial intelligence revolution.
Interesting.
Behavioral modification, right? And so we get the opioids from the what's it called? What's it called? A fentanyl, but the
Oxycontin.
Fentanyl comes from China. It's 100 times stronger than opium?
Yes.
Yes.
And Patrick, you remember opium, don't you?
Yes, I do.
It caused you and many of us to change our behavior.
Yes, it did. Yes.
Negatively.
Yes.
And in China, they have this concept. It's called open air prisons without walls. And they have about 8 million people who live in a community. They're Muslims, and they walk around just like they do on North and Pennsylvania Avenue. And their behavior is modified, and they live in a prison without walls. And that's what's sort of going on here.
So you think these are drug addicts? You think this is the part of the problem, that it's the drug addiction, the killings?
Well, I think that a large part of it is, but see, behavioral modification goes along with the dialectic also. In other words, the way we vote and the people who influence us to vote.
Well, what do you say? I got in trouble go ahead.
Just like PFK Boone says, all black ain't black. And we talk about that all day long, every day on talk radio. All black ain't black. And we are being led like sheep by some black people who ain't black.
But what about the idea that the reason a lot of this is allowed to go on, because a lot of these people that come to these meetings and stuff, they only want to do so much because you're talking about their children and their grandchildren. So they're not trying to really do anything about it. And they get mad at you because you bring it up because it's their children. What do you think of that, Jane?
Oh, I'm sorry. You say James.
No, I meant Gene. I'm sorry. Yeah. They spelled your name with a J. That's why I'm getting the French.
That's okay. Gene, to me, it's like this. I have a son, and the only thing that I can do with him is to give him correct information. But he's influenced. He writes code for a major bank in Pennsylvania, and all the people, most of them, the majority of the people, like 88% of them, are people who are on visas from India, and they get paid less money than the majority group in America gets paid.
Oh, really? They pay them less?
Job.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course. And so, because they're on a visa, so they want to stay here, and it's a temporary thing. And so, in order to get their visa renewed, they are almost coerced into saying, "Okay, well, I'll just accept that pay, and maybe I'll get my papers, my citizenship papers." So they are in a bind also.
Okay.
But this is going all over the country, and I say behavioral modification is just a reward system, and and you get penalized, and that's basically what it is. So of course, with us, we don't want to rule ourselves, or we have a hard time doing it because we have people who would much rather integrate into the other groups as opposed to have a a group that's run by us for us, and have other people integrate with us.
That's right.
And nothing's wrong with integration, and we are not racist.
We'll work with anybody.
We'll work with anybody.
Yeah, thank you, Gene. Go ahead.
Right now, we're falling into something that Orwell talked about in 1984. Where you have the ministries of truth, and the ministries of truth are the media, social media, and everything else that is programming everybody at the present time. And they are telling you what to think, how to think, and how to speak it.
And
so that's just where we're headed to.
It's based on we're headed to. No, we are in the midst of it.
Well, I'm trying to be nice about it.
No. I know,
we're here.
No, I'm just, we're on the same page. I'm gonna leave it at that. You guys have a great day, Patrick. Keep up the good work, and like I said, I'm glad you're back, man.
Thank you, sir. Continue to pray for me. Let's see. We got Robert here on line 2. Robert, Bubba, you still there? How you doing, Robert? You have a question or comment? Say, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Hanging, man. I'm hanging good. How you doing?
Right, man. It's interesting. I mean, you cover a whole lot of ground. And but one thing I want to bring out, these public corporations, quasi public corporations, been running Baltimore for years. And it's no stopping them because of
the invisible hands.
A lot of elected officials, they signed right off on it. And so they are impartial.
You say they doing what to them?
They sign off on it.
Sign off. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Guy he was mentioning the fact that Stephanie Rawlins Blake, she gave up this whole store. Concerning with anything concerning the black community, she gave the whole store. But listen, Patrick, I want to I'll get on to something that might be your interest.
Okay.
The Word Channel.
Word Channel?
Yes, with Bishop Bloomer and the owner, Kenny Ardell.
The Word Channel.
If you go on Roland Martin's website, go to Roland Martin's website, you'll see where he put a picture up that made them look like they were pimps.
Oh yeah. I saw that. But that ain't all they've been doing. The Word Network. Yeah, I know they just Kirk Franklin is boycotting them. They clip something political. They clip it out with that for so, and when we doing praise. They are prejudiced. Nashville is just as prejudiced. It has always been prejudiced, and it will always be prejudiced. And I'm with them. No, that Word Network, they've been that way for decades, and black people still support them. Just
is
like
it Word or TBN?
TBN and Word, they're all the same, yeah. Yes, sir. I know. I have to thank you, sir, for breaking that. But y'all, listen. Don't waste your money. Whatever you do, don't send them your money. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Robert. We're going to go to Dwight on line 3. Dwight, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Good morning, Patrick. I'm glad you're doing better and glad to hear your voice again.
Thanks,
I'm the kind of guy I listen to most of every show on his airways, and very seldom do I give a negative opinion to somebody else unless I'm offended by what I've heard them say.
Okay.
And you have never ever criticized me for saying what I've said. So the information that I must give or we talk about, it must be useful, and I don't want to be disrespected on this airway. And I was earlier. I'm not going to go into names and stuff because names hurt you, but in your show, you bring out names, but I don't want to. I just want peace and blessing with everybody in which I come in. And I got a lot of wisdom and knowledge from these airways and these shows, and certain stuff is people give information, and it just turn up people. I can't accept that, Patrick. And in order for us to get together, we got to come together, and we can't.
The good and the bad, yes.
It's been happening. It didn't just start. I'm 63 years old. Just had a birthday. This didn't just start.
That's right.
So why are we bashing each other and 1,000 people running for mayor and 1,000 people trying to outrun everybody? That's not in my scenario of going around to comprehend what's going on, Patrick. And I have a problem with that.
Well, that's okay. At least you know what it is. You know.
I even love your enemy. I do, and I'm glad to have you back, my brother.
Man, thank God. Thank God I am. And thank God, listen, you continue. You know, you can always call here and express and to say what you need to say. You know what I mean? Because the truth is just the truth, y'all. It might hurt. And, you know, when you go to the doctor before he can treat you.
I got paralyzed this morning for it. And I don't usually have that conversation on this airway.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It's okay, man. You ain't nobody's child here. Not like we can abuse you or reprimand you. This is America. You are allowed, and sometimes you're more freedom allowed on some shows than others. But it's all about the truth.
And street smart.
Yeah.
So I got both of them. So, you know, I'm not no newcomer on this area.
All right, then. Thank you, my brother. You be well. All right.
He just brings up a very interesting question. Why is it that you have all of these people running for these various seats? And I contend now that the 7th Congressional District seat is in play and could conceivably be lost to the African American community here in Baltimore.
Yes, we agree. Yeah, we agree.
I believe that you have some other things that you might be trying to say with that remark. What is it?
Well, I wouldn't say I have anything else to say. I'm just saying it's going to be lost. The legacy of the people who have been in that seat for so many years throughout history has been monumental. It's gone. And I'm wondering why.
So you can't let me draw you out, huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll let you be nice and okay, what am I trying to say?
You're going to say we're going to lose that seat, and once we lose it, we'll never be able to get it back. that's one thing I believe you're saying?
Too.
Yeah, okay. That's what I think is important. He's talking about coming seat for all of y'all, and that's always been. No? Which city is he talking about?
He's talking about 7. You are talking about that district. I thought you were talking about one more.
No.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
There are 2 that we could possibly lose.
And what's the other?
What's the district that's, I guess, Leon Pinkett's?
The 7th Councilmanic District.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about.
We could lose that one too? Because of Pinkett's weakness as a candidate, or
and his competition.
And who is his competition? Do you know?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, no, we don't know who's officially filing, but we do know that there has been interest expressed, and there's
yes.
I guess there is
Nick Mosby.
Yeah.
Oh God. You really think he's competition?
Well, he's having a fundraiser on the 3rd of December.
But will the people vote for him? I don't care how much money he got.
Don't know.
After he already messed up that area.
Yeah, and see, when you said 7th, I was thinking 7th Councilmanic District as opposed to 7th. That's why I was trying to draw you out, Richard.
No, okay.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't know everything, but I don't think he's a real threat to Pinkett. But we'll see, huh?
Yeah.
We ain't not going to take nothing for granted, y'all.
We'll know, I guess, mid-December.
Things are too, right now, this is the craziest political season I have witnessed in all of my X amount of years.
Wow, really?
Well, in the 7th Congressional District, we have at least 16 people that are running that we know of at this point. And
we'll know after Wednesday.
And we'll know definitely after Wednesday. But it has gotten to be already very ugly. And I just I'm sad about that, because we deserve good representation, and we deserve to have a rational, reasonable discussion. And it seems to be, everyone seems to be in attack mode.
But that's politics. That's politics in general these days.
Yeah, it is. This is the way, the par for the course.
Can we just have a discussion of what the congressional district needs and how you can address those needs, as opposed to saying
it's not going. Unfortunately, James, these days this is now the politics of self-destruction. This is the politics of, it's not about policy, it's about personality. It's the cult of personality run amok.
But then the people still go back and vote for the people of the personality that they know. So I think that's what makes me crazy.
And the awful thing for me is that if you raise a legitimate question about candidate X, then candidate Y will come in with his whole cadre of people to attack you for what you might have said about candidate X. And so you never have a rational discussion.
Glory? I'm sorry, is that Glory?
Lord.
No, it's not Glory.
It's Glory. I'm sorry. We got a new engineer, so I thought it might have been you. How are you today, sir? You have a question or comment?
Yes, and welcome back to you as well.
Thank you.
And speedy recovery. Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on this food desert that I keep hearing from month to month, right? I was born in Santana, Winchester, in a hot down there. And I have family all over different zip codes in that area. And my aunt had a mom and pop store right there at Fremont, Baker and Riggs years ago. And it was burned down during Martin Luther King. And also through the years, my cousin had stores on Gilmore Street, like the mom and pop stores, and you still got mom and pop stores. And the reason why you have these mom and pop stores in a community like ours, because there's no big market that's going to come and put a big market in a desert area, in a small community. A lot of them have markets like further out, like Madonna or Route 1.
Yes, sir.
Or out Liberty Road.
Yes,
and
sir.
I heard somebody had mentioned about the John, and I know about the John that closed down. He didn't know, but I hope he's listening. The reason why they closed it down, the contract had ran out. The owner of their property wanted their property, and I think they're supposed to be putting some apartments or something they're going to put on that area. And I think the reason why John left, because they have a lot of competition there. You got shoppers further up the road, and you go up to Old Court. You got some Asian stores, Asian markets. There's a lot of competition. So a lot of these big markets not making money like they used to. So they pretty much going out of business or cutting down.
Glory, why can't we utilize maybe Lafayette Market? There's still an empty space there where Murray's used to be at. And even though Murray's wasn't the best choice, they at least had fruits and vegetables in there, because I used to go in there on quite frequently.
And you're right, because believe it or not, though, for years and decades, people would always catch the bus, go to the Lafayette Market, and get their foods and come back home. So that's always been. And hopefully, when I heard that they're going to renovate it, and I was hoping that they weren't just tear it down, because that's history of Baltimore, and people all over, they know about that market. And I heard y'all mention about the horse and buggies. My aunt and uncle had, they was Arabs. They used to go down before they built the harbor. I remember this because I was young.
A lot of folks don't realize that B. Greens was started by Barry Greens, a Jewish gentleman who had a horse and buggy that used to go through Baltimore City.
Wow.
And he became one of the largest grocer distributors in the East Coast.
Wow. Well, listen, the people are saying, Irene Williams said, Arabs in vans and buses, not horses. I agree. It sounds like a business there to me.
Yeah.
That somebody could start, And
I don't see why we don't, look at repurposing Lafayette Market. I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and all the stalls are gone. Like there's huge potential for, someone to bring in a farmer's market to, like they did over in Irvington. Councilman Christopher Burnett was able to bring in the farmer's market. I know that's Leon Pinkett's area. That's something that, again, a council person should really be looking at in that area, and utilizing the existing infrastructure that's already there.
Right.
And that's not being utilized. And Lafayette Market is a ghost town.
It's it is.
But Lafayette Market will come back as soon as the city changes its demographics.
So you're saying gentrification?
Don't you know?
So in the meantime, we go in a food desert. In the meantime, I still say that it's a huge potential for any black entrepreneur that's listening to us.
That's what I think, too.
That they should look at going in there and setting up. It's not expensive to go into Lafayette Market.
I agree with you, but the reality is something different.
Something different is. Brother High Key,
yes, sir. Good.
Welcome. You have a,
gentlemen. How y'all doing today?
We're doing pretty good, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I want to say, in terms of the 7th district, the congressional race, I don't know how we're going to lose it, since the wife of the congressman is actually running, and I believe that she's the most qualified, actually, candidate that's out there.
Why do you believe that? Why?
Well, she has some unique experience in D.C. that none of the other candidates that actually have now. And I think that, and many people, they minimize, the relationship and what she actually learned. It's kind of like an on-the-job training type of thing. But because when you are, in fact, married to someone, you kind of, you learn a lot.
Yes, the good and the bad. That's what I'm concerned about is the bad. But all right then, brother High Key, thank you. We're going to go to Norman on line 2. Norman, you have a question or comment?
I know. I'm calling for Lewis.
Pardon?
Lewis. I'm calling for Lewis with Norman Jones with the Art of Living.
What is he talking about?
I'm doing a project, the United States Congress Law 1214, African American History Act.
Okay, and whose show are you calling for?
Lewis Fields.
Oh, you're too early.
You're too early, sir. He won't be on until 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick, by the way, so you remember Glord talked about Rudolph Giuliani.
Right.
Did you have a chance to check out Saturday Night Live the last couple of weeks?
I slept through it this week.
Well, last week's SNL Weekend Update, they said that Giuliani went from being the mayor of 9/11, because he was known as the mayor of 9/11. He was there at the time, to the 9/11 of mayors. so
that's about right, isn't it? That's a major nomenclature is perfect for that jerk.
I posted the whole thing on my Facebook page, so if anybody wants to go see it.
Okay, all right.
It's hilarious.
Diane, is that Lady Di?
Yes, how y'all doing?
Fine, how are you, sweetheart?
I'm so glad that you are doing better.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank
Continue
you.
to pray for your health.
I appreciate it much.
Because there's so many of my friends and stuff, they're not as old as you are, and they're dropping dead. So, we gotta stick together. And we
do.
More united, When Jason talked about the Lafayette Market, that market was turned over to the Asian people.
Turned over, or they just took all the spaces?
Well, once they renovated, and I think it was under Stephanie Rollins' Blake, they renovated the market, and when the people came back, it wasn't no blacks. There was a lot of blacks before they renovated it. And when I went up there, I saw more Asian. I think I seen like 2 or 3 black stalls that was there. And then when I went back again, they was no longer there. And most of the time, they tell you because the rent is so high. So they can't afford the rent. So, they lose their stalls, and then they don't bring it back up. And I know they're going to do another renovation probably after they do Lexington Market and stuff like that. But like you said, we have to be more unionized. And this year at Light City, they did a thing with the Arab. They had a Arab with a horse, and they had little fruit that was lit up on the Arab wagon, and they toured down the harbor, the harbor and stuff like that.
Cute,
so that was something new this year that they did. But the Arabs have been around for ages. They still got them, but they don't have them like they used to. And they were put in for that new part of Pimlico. They was talking about bringing them back and putting them over there with Pimlico. That was one of the ideas that they had. And that would be a good idea because they brought fruits and vegetables to our neighborhoods when we didn't have the supermarkets and stuff. I remember there was an Acme right there on Bloomingdale, off between Poplar Grove and Bloomingdale. There was an Acme, and then there was a food fair.
Right, Diane, you're great. I love you. I wish you would come on the show and call in more often. I got to go now, baby. But thank you for that
get
information.
You to call in earlier.
Yeah, get your call in earlier. Appreciate that. And I'm going to try to get Sharon in, our last caller of the day. Hi, Sharon. You have a question or comment?
Yes, Comic Patrick. This is Sharon, and I'm so glad that you're doing better.
Oh,
and
bless
one
you.
last thing. People are evolving.
Yes.
Do not count Pete Buttigieg out because he is coming up in the poll. People are evolving around that issue. At least when you talk to me, I have come a long way on that.
Bless your heart,
People
sweetheart.
just not saying that.
Yeah.
So don't count him out, Patrick. Have a good trip.
All right. You know, there was this so interesting that she would be the last caller of the day, you know, because I noticed this morning that Buttigieg is number one in Iowa. I have nothing against gay people. I am a gay man. I just don't think that black people are going to vote for a gay president. And Sherry said that I convinced her that didn't make any sense, so God bless for that. But it's going to be a rough road to hoe, as they say down in the South, for him to be. But I think he's brilliant, and I think he'd make a great president. I have no doubt about it. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Say goodbye, Richard.
Until next week.
Until next Sunday at 3:30 and on Spirit 1400. Say goodbye, Jimmy.
All right, goodbye.
Y'all continue to pray for me. God is so good. I'm so happy to still be in the land of the living.
Pray for
and
Patrick.
I'll pray for me, and I'll pray for you. God knows. Have a blessed week. Speak to you next Sunday at 3:30 on Spirit 1400. Be blessed. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Bye-bye.
To give up for anything. Yeah, your destiny. Said it's too important to give up for anything, yeah. Said it ain't worth that skirt, no it ain't worth that tie, no it ain't, said it ain't worth that girl.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. Don't take on the IRS alone. If you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. The experts at Optima specialize in a powerful IRS assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative, and their clients that qualify are saving thousands. One call starts the process to help you stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important that you act now while you still have options.